That's the one thing I've always thought really interesting about a lot of the trainers in New York. Like, obviously, I'm sure you know Blake out there.
Right.
It was funny as I was like looking through your page and stuff. Like, I was seeing a lot of the videos you were posting about like doing work in your apartment and stuff like that. And it reminded me a lot of, I remember when I first discovered Blake, like when I was starting to get into this like 10 years ago or so. It was like he was doing everything out of his little apartment, and he'd have crates all over the place, and he'd be just grinding to get it done. And I couldn't even imagine the hurdle of out there trying to find spaces so not readily available as is. And then I remember the first time I ever went to Blake's place, I was like, you see it in the videos and stuff, and it looks like a normal sized place, and then you walk inside and you're like, holy shit, this is small.
And everything out here is, man. Everything out here is.
Yeah, it's so cool though, because like what you're able to get accomplished in such a small space. When I was first getting into training, like Blake and Tyler and like Jeff and Sean and Larry and all them, they were kind of like the big names in the industry at the time. And I remember Tyler, because he's pretty close to me. He's in Buffalo, so he's only like 3 hours away. Tyler was like kind of my mentor when I first started getting into training, and I would go up there, and he was like, man, he's like, Blake, he's like, if there's one thing that dude can do, it's manage a very small space with a lot of dogs in it. Like he said, he had Blake come up when they used to do like a seminar series together, and he would have Blake come up and like work with his staff and just like show them like basically the most efficient ways to work with like multiple dogs in a small space.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I was working out of my apartment, I only did like 2 dogs boarding.
Sure.
That.
Yeah.
I tried to how much dogs I was boarding. I did a lot more private sessions.
Yeah.
But the thing about New York is, I mean, there's a lot of parks and they're pretty dog friendly, and so I know in the dog training world, there's a big taboo against dog parks and against, stuff like that. But being out here, you have to kind of work with that, because that's what people have, like people don't have yards, people don't have a lot of space that they can utilize. You have to be able to work in public spaces, be able to accommodate hectic noises and situations happening all the time, and be able to kind of flow with that. I think it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. I think a lot of the dogs in cities like this tend to generally be way more socialized, way more stable, because they're having to deal with this from the time they're with their families,
Yeah. I mean, there's no escaping the environmental side of things, so like you get into like the most environmentally like bomb-proof dogs. You're going to find them in those places. I used to do a lot of training in Chicago. I was considering moving out there and opening a location. So I would go out there like once a month and like do a weekend of lessons. And it was crazy to see the difference in issues and things that people would reach out to me over there versus in like, Cleveland, which is a city, but like it's primarily composed of a bunch of suburbs,
Right.
So completely different issues. So that's really cool.